So, you've asked the questions. You know the subject, you know your purpose, you know your target audience. What comes next? Well, think of writing an essay like building a house. After you've got the blueprints, you start framing the thing. You put together the skeleton of the project. For writing, this is an outline. You'll need to decide what the point of each paragraph is. The introduction is easy. You get the reader's attention, you state your thesis or main idea, boom. The body paragraphs are trickier. Each body paragraph should have its own point or its own smaller idea. If you have 3 body paragraphs, then you need 3 separate points. If you have 5 body paragraphs, then you need 5 separate points. If you are giving information, give 5 different pieces of information. If you're trying to persuade, give 5 different arguments for your position. If you're telling a story, tell about 5 different specific events in the story. For your conclusion, give a final impression, restate your main idea, boom. Framing is done. The next step, and the first big step really, is drafting. And this is the step that most people skip, but it's one of the most important parts. When you make a first draft, you just write, and you don't think too much into it. Using your outline or frame as a general guide, you free write all of your thoughts pertaining to each section. You don't worry about typos, grammar, or anything else. It's just word barf. The point isn't to be perfect or even good. The point is to get all of your ideas out onto the paper. Once you've got this pile of ideas, then you start to make it look good. We call this second draft revising. Revision means re-seeing, and that's really what you're doing here. Read through your first draft. Notice what is working, what isn't working, what makes sense, and what is a waste of space. Think about how you've worded things. Have you phrased your ideas in a way that other humans would understand? Because if you haven't, now is the time to rephrase things. You can also fix grammatical structures if you notice that they're incorrect, but you don't have to go looking for this just yet. That comes later. Instead, think big picture as you revise. Is your main idea or thesis clear? Does every paragraph support it in a different way? How does each paragraph support it? What is the argument or idea of each paragraph, and how do they work together? A trick that I like to use is to read the paper out loud. If parts of it sound clunky or they don't flow very well, it's a lot easier to hear than to see. Another trick is to have someone else read your paper and mark the parts that don't make sense to them. I cannot encourage this enough. The more eyes that are on your paper, the better it's going to be. As you revise, make sure to fully develop your ideas. Don't introduce an idea and then immediately change the subject. Reflect on the point of each paragraph. Analyze what you are saying and draw a conclusion from it. A paragraph is like a miniature essay in a way, and I want you to think of it that way. There's a great checklist on page 43 of the Compact Reader that can help you with this process, and I urge you to use it in your writing. It's really helpful. So, what have we done so far? We have made an outline of our essay paragraphs and the big ideas of each one. We've free-written our first draft, ignoring grammar and spelling and just getting all of our ideas out onto the paper. And finally, we've revisited that draft to rearrange the ideas and sentences in a way that makes sense to the reader. After you've done all of that, you start the fourth phase, editing. At this point, your essay should be coherent in a general sense. So you just go back now to check for typos, spelling errors, grammar and punctuation mistakes, and other easily fixable problems. Word processing software does this for you. It literally underlines the misspelled words, so there is absolutely no excuse for turning in an essay to me that has a bunch of typos and mistakes on it. If you do, and it's clear to me that you couldn't be bothered to run a spell check, I won't grade it. I will give it back to you and ask you to try that again. If you want me to even look at your essays, run a spell check. Put in the arduous labor of clicking the button and having the computer think for you. Other things to look for are clarity, Did you make yourself clear during the revising stage? Emphasis. Do you really drive the most important points home? Conciseness. Are you rambling endlessly? And tone. Does the tone of your piece or the attitude you express, does that match your target audience? Are you using informal language in a scientific paper? Are you using scientific language for an informal personal narrative? We'll talk more on that later, but do keep it in mind for now. All of this constitutes the writing process. Is the process you use like this? Do you skip any of these steps? Do you think it is a good idea to skip any of these steps? It's not. Answer's no. So don't skip any steps. Good luck.